Reacting to the Past is a series of elaborate role-playing games that take place at critical moments in history, from the trial of Socrates in ancient Athens to the debate over teaching evolution in Kansas in 1999. Students are assigned a role, and they read texts and understand the context of the time through the lens of that role.
Moving on.
There we go. Hey.
Now we're going to discuss the elimination between the distinction between active and passive citizens.
Well, I think before we do that, we should define what each means.
I definitely believe that reacting to the past creates a different environment in the classroom. It's way different than lecture or small group. It allows students to really become connected to the materials that they're learning. You know, we had lecture, we had small group discussion. There were materials that we were absolutely required to read, but what reacting to the past does is it allows you to take those materials and really put them to practice in a tangible way.
In order to be an active citizen, it is necessary to have been born or become a French man. Okay, first of all, I'm just going to call that out. Who is defending you in October days? It's like you actively put women as active citizens only when it's convenient to you. We stand up and defend you, and you still like put us as passive citizens. Yeah, you just use us at your convenience. We're just like a little pawn in your game. Can I just say that? That's all I'd like to say about that.
Thank you.
Don't play chess with people, it's not nice.
No.
Oh, I get it.
Obviously, there's a division of the people of France. You have people who are labeled as active, and you have people who are labeled as passive. How is this different from labeling some people, say, as second or first estate, and labeling people as third estate? This is a division of the people of France. This is not fair to the great majority of the people. I don't know how this assembly can I don't know how you wrote this law in the first place without feeling massively hypocritical about yourselves.
What was so great for me is that I really got to use these materials outside of class. And I also got very emotionally involved in my character. You can tell when people are making alliances outside of class how emotionally involved they are.
This is immensely hypocritical of us, and people in the world are seeing it. Edmund Burke wrote about it in his commentary on the French Revolution when he called us sycophants, where we slide into positions of power and then sit there comfortably. And then we deny the same rights to people. Those rights that we so, violently fought for, and that the crowd fought for, and then we're going to deny that to them. It doesn't make any sense. We fought, we stood in the tennis court and took an oath because we were being subjugated by tyrannical power, because we were not of a certain class based on hereditary ideas. So why then are we going to create a class of people based on property? Why?
I think we just, I agree with, I understand what you're saying, and I agree that it is bad that property would separate others, but property distinction for classification of voters is something that happens across Europe. And remember what the Declaration of Pillnitz told us, that all eyes are centered on us right now, and that any actions that we take here could agitate the other nations. So
the biggest difference is that you're thrown right into a simulation. It's almost like you have to act out a movie, and the movie's ending, but you have the power to change the ending. So as with our French Revolution game, King Louis ended up trying to escape and being jailed in France, ended up becoming a full republic, and it didn't quite follow the script of history, which was kind of fun because it made the game more exciting. But I don't know, I definitely say that it's a more immersive experience, and that you have to really identify with your character's values, and if your character is more of an indeterminate like mine was, then you have to adjust your values based on the situation, which change frequently.
The freedom of speech though, and if we're not, we have the freedom.
Not if it's interest to the, not if it's interest to the nation, our whole friends.
Okay, so how is it equal if your voices are being heard but ours aren't?
Because you don't have
I'm not
a seat.
saying that, no, I'm saying that if.
So if you're
No,
saying
if
if
we-
we pass the law.
No,
and
we
we're-
And if we pass this law. and-
We're calling for a vote. Sorry, my voice doesn't travel that far.
But one of the best benefits was it created a safe environment for students to really discuss in a way that other classes don't.
When your newspaper and users threatened me with it.
Actually, we wrote ours after your escape.
Still, your intentions were clear.
My intentions
And-
were clear.
I did not interrupt you, sir. Please extend me the same courtesy. Nowhere does it say I designed to take an army against you. Nowhere does it say that I connived to exterminate anyone. No, it says that I feared for my life, that I was fearful of my life, but I came back. And since I've come back, what have I done? I've worked for you, publicly, with heads of state, to prevent war. A letter that you all endorsed and all appreciated, that I took on my own. And I voted for this war to defend these people. And then you say that I'm somehow against you? You speak of events in the past, but my present actions speak otherwise.
Let me be clear that those are the citizens that have rioted.
Yes.
So if we give them guns, that is probably not a good thing.
Okay, excuse me. We took up our guns in defense.
Yeah, you took our guns
We
away.
defended
You took our guns
Wait a minute,
away.
we had guns, we had pikes, we didn't carry them, we fought for you, and you're saying, oh my god, they're crazy wild people?
I'm not saying they're crazy and wild people. I'm just saying they're the ones that have rioted.
I'm
That's
saying that I'm the one
Wilson.
that defended you. If you're not gonna listen to me, I'm gonna riot.
I'm listening to you.
How can you say that we are less of citizens? We defended your country. We went in the Bastille, we went in October days. You would not be here if it was not for us.
One of the things that really makes the whole reacting to the past kind of experience different from your usual class thing is, in an average class session and lecture, you know, the professor is really the one who's in charge. And I mean, even when you go into discussion, it's not as much the students interacting amongst themselves as much as almost the students and the professor. But in the reacting to the past, I mean, although you do have the professor, in a way it's a wonderful controlled Lord of the Flies thing where the students are amongst themselves and they have, and although the professor is there managing it, they're really working together and against each other. Certain people kind of rise up as, you know, taking charge. So it has a wonderful aspect of the students working together. And I think it's also nice because the students really do interact more with each other and in a way with the material more.
These debates, we've gone back and forth about whether Galileo is some sort of heretic for interpreting scripture, or the fact that he's interpreting it at all. Whatever the answer to that may be, I think he's a bit of a fool. Now, bear with me, I'm a fool myself and a very silly old man who has trouble understanding these things, so I may just need some explanation to clear matters up. But there's some problems that I've come across in my mind. You see, I don't feel the earth moving underneath my feet. I hope none of you do. If you do, I think actually you're probably drunk. Actually, a simple demonstration. If the earth moved, when I jumped, I would land somewhere else because the earth is moving under me and while I was in the air. Same place. You see, if I fall straight down, the earth is not moving, or else it would be, my place of jumping would probably be over there somewhere else, not directly underneath me. The idea that you throwing it up and it comes back down doesn't prove that it's moving along with you. It just proves that it's attracted to the earth.
How do you then prove if I have something then throw, or it does not go straight down, it moves in that direction before it goes down?
Because
in theory, would it not go straight down according to your
No, because in Aristotle's view of how the universe works, any natural object will seek the earth.
Is paper not natural?
Oh, I'm saying it is natural. If I throw this hat, it goes forward too. But Aristotle says that an object can be imbued with natural motion, which will take it up and down, either if it's air or fire towards the heavens, or ground and water towards the earth. But unnatural motion, which can be given to any object by an outside force, such as our arms, will make it travel forwards or backwards.
The other good thing is, since we're in teams and it's not just every man for himself, there might be some apathetic kid when there's every man for himself, but there's this wonderful peer pressure when you're in teams and you're competing with other students, because if you don't pull your weight on the team, the other kids are gonna let you know about it.
You're saying you don't feel that we move. How do you know that we're moving? So, in my argument, if we're going to go back to it, we just basically prove that these observations, which we all agree happened, we could do them again. They are repeatable observations. They cannot be explained by Aristotle's model of the universe, and therefore that is wrong. So if we were now in a day in Aristotle's universe, the sun rotates around the Earth and the Earth is still. But in the Copernican model, we are rotating. So how would you explain a day cycle if we're not moving? And going back to what you had said about Tycho's model, the problem with Tycho's model and these observations is that these observations took about 6 months to notice. And with Tycho's model, the sun would be going around the Earth daily, and therefore these observations would take place in about a couple hours, and not 6 months. So how do you explain a day? How do you explain we have sun for 12 hours, a certain amount of time, and then there's night? How do you explain that if we are stationary? Or if we're stationary?
I don't have the answer to that right off the top of my head, but at the same time, I would like to point out, though, that we're putting a very high premium on observations.
Have you ever been on a ship? Have you been in, let's say, the lower decks of a ship and on the cabin rooms where there's no windows because it would get water inside, right? Okay, so in that room, let's say you're sitting on a chair and nothing, you don't feel like you're moving, you're sitting on a chair. The chair has not gone anywhere, your feet have not gone anywhere. The four walls that surround you are the same. The pictures on the wall haven't moved, correct? But is the ship moving? Has the ship gone from one point to another? Yes. Have you felt like you're moving it up? No.
Yeah,
have you?
Right outside.
No. Right. So sea sickness you feel for the first while, but then after that you don't feel it anymore, because what is relative to you, that chair, those four walls, and the pictures haven't moved in relativeness to you, but the whole ship has in fact gone from point A to point B. So you have actually changed a great deal of distance without ever moving your physical being.
So maybe the biggest challenge for me in using reacting to the past was I had to get over my desire to try to control the learning process. Reacting requires the professor to step back, but it allows students to take responsibility for their learning. And that's what we want. We want students to take more responsibility. We want them to develop a love of learning, and reacting to the past delivers on that. Students actually talk to each other in the classroom. They discuss ideas. They discuss ideas like they really matter, because they do. In order to win the game, they need to persuade their classmates that their idea is the right idea. They become insistent that they know what's best for France, for India, for South Africa. It depends on the situation, depends on the game that they're playing. And they stop worrying about me. They talk to each other. They don't worry about grades. They don't worry about me. They're not seeking to please me. They're seeking to persuade each other. And in the process, they're really learning. They're really discussing with each other, and they're really understanding why what we study matters.
Reacting to the past is an extremely different learning experience. Most classes in college are just some sort of lecture or group work at our school. But reacting to the past, it was all about us. It was really different than anything, and it was nice. It was a nice change of pace from all my other classes. I enjoyed going to that class because it was different than every other class where I just had to sit and listen. It was something where I got to be loud and talk and get some energy out, and it was really fun. Me and one of the other girls in the class were really good friends, but in the game, we were enemies, and we just bickered back and forth, and we were two of the bigger talkers, and it just ended up that it was fun because we got to argue, and like, it's just something you don't usually get to do.
The biggest benefits is that you definitely learn context better, in that you have to, by adopting a certain set of values, you get to understand the mentality of your characters. So those who have to learn the philosophy of the radical left, say in France, have to learn the democratic ideals, and those in the more conservative parties have to understand the value of keeping a monarchy. Whereas my character had to be able to see both sides of the issues and adopt it from a more independent perspective, which was also interesting. But I've also had the opportunity to do multiple learning from the past series. I've done the ancient Greece simulation and an American Revolution one, and both of those provided an interesting take on history, and just you learn to understand events much more differently than what a textbook will tell you, because a textbook can tell you what happens, but you don't know exactly how to feel about that. But by establishing some sort of emotional connection with the past, you learn to value it better.